feel extremely honored to be able to introduce our next honoree, Gary Sandy. I was once told a long time ago that when you're going to make remarks, speak from the heart. And that's really kind of appropriate in this particular situation because I'm reminded of Gary Sandy, who has a big heart, and how lucky we are that a major part of that heart has stayed in Dayton, Ohio. Thank you, Gary. Just a couple of things that you won't see in the video, but about a year ago, we were putting together our company, a radio sales summit in, of all places, Cincinnati. WKRP in Cincinnati. Fortunate for me, George Weimer, who is also an honoree from years past here, he and Gary knew each other. He called Gary, and without hesitation, he said, "Yeah, sure. Where? Sign me up. I'll be there." Not only did he appear at our sales summit, but when I asked him rather boldly, "Would you like to help me give the Radio Wayne Awards out?" He's not only said yes, he kind of took over the program. They're next Tuesday, by the way, okay? I won't sign you up again on that. A couple of things, though, closer to Dayton. This past week, many of you who were either part of or witnessed the Holiday at Home Parade, Gary was the honorary Grand Marshal there. And while it's still, I think, a bit under wraps, I've been told that I can say a little bit about the fact that there's a project at Caroline Park. Gary's involved in that. So without further ado, though, I want to show you a video of some of the remarkable career highlights of Gary Sandy from Dayton, Ohio.
Born in Dayton, Ohio on Christmas of 1945, Gary Sandy was the first son of Austin and Dolores Sandy, a bright young man who knew early on that he wanted a career in acting or public speaking. Gary attended Fairmont High School, where he played on the wrestling team, won the Kettering Optimist Oratorical Contest, and was chosen Kettering's Typical Youth of the Year during his sophomore year. It was also during his high school years that he and Dayton broadcaster George Weimer met as part of a WING radio-sponsored Junior Achievement Group. After winning an All-State Actor Award his senior year at Fairmont High School, Sandy attended Wilmington College until a professor urged him to go to New York and study acting. But first, to appease his family, Sandy attended an Atlanta broadcasting school. After all, he had a voice for radio, but he also had a face for Hollywood, and eventually made his way to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City. There, he got his first professional role, a part created just for him in the daytime drama, As the World Turns. Over a 7-year period, he continued playing villains in the afternoon on Another World, Somerset, and his favorite, The Secret Store. Fast forward to 1978, when he brought to life every radio station's favorite program director, Andy Travis. On the TV sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati, a role that made him a household name. Surrounded by a cast of memorable characters, including fellow Daytonian Gordon Jones, it was Gary who, as star of the show, kept the imaginary station and his crew anchored, well, at least as much as any human could. Following a 4-year run on CBS, WKRP in Cincinnati became one of the most popular shows in syndication. After WKRP, Sandy returned to New York and realized his dream of performing on Broadway. He starred as the Pirate King in The Pirates of Penzance. Other stage credits include Barnum, Chicago, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, The Music Man, and many more. Gary has also been active in live radio dramas, appearing in theatrical productions around the country, including Mike Hammer, Encore for Murder, with critics giving Sandy rave reviews for his virtuoso performance. His career has given him opportunities to become acquainted with many celebrities. But his hometown has always stayed close to his heart, and he has returned over the years to lend his name, time, and talent to civic and community events across the Miami Valley. Tonight, the Dayton Area Broadcasters Hall of Fame is pleased to recognize Gary Sandy for his positive portrayal of the broadcast industry with an honorary award into the class of 2024.
Sounds like a pretty cool guy, I think. I'll keep it moving. And listen, I gotta tell you, but I'm a little embarrassed because they said, talk about yourself. So that's what I'm gonna do, is talk about myself. The first recollection I ever had of anything was me saying to my mom as a little kid, "Mommy, why do you watch those soap operas? I could do that." The next thing that I remember is doing a speech, a Bob Newhart stand-up monologue in a 6th or 7th grade speech class. And the teacher asked me if I would do it in front of the whole school at the talent show. And I remember for the first time coming out on a stage through the curtains, and I gave this monologue, and the whole entire school treated me differently. All the teachers, all the students, they treated me absolutely differently, and I thought, I'm on to something. And one of the teachers that I admired the most bent down and said to me, she said, "You have a thing called comedic timing. That might be very valuable to you someday." And it has been. Cut to Fairmont High School, and I did a lot of speech tournaments. I was also on the wrestling team, but they started to button up heads against each other on the Saturday, so I had to leave because Leah Funk, who was a speech teacher at Fairmont, said to me, "Geez, let me ask you a question. Are you going to wrestle the rest of your life?" And I said, "No." She said, So I had to leave the wrestling team, which was a big deal. I was supposed to have won the state finals in this oratorical declamation thing, because I had won almost every contest at every school. But when we went to the state, one of the judges in there said, because I would say the trial of Henry Sweet, and I would flip my jacket open and treat the judges as though they would be the jury. Well, this one judge said, "You can't do that. That is dramatic interpretation," so he cut me down and I didn't win. So Leah Funk said there's only one thing left, and that is a one-act play contest. So I, along with a lady that lives in Centerville, Laura Wolf, we did a two-character play, and I won All-State Actor, and I got a scholarship to go to Wilmington College. Thank you, Hugh Highland at Wilmington College, for giving me the scholarship. I was there for the allotted I never was graduated. I left and I went to a broadcasting school in Atlanta, Georgia. I left Atlanta after that broadcasting school. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts for the allotted 2 years. After I was out of the academy, I was working for the theater ticket agency in New York, and I worked all the major hotels selling theater tickets. And it was a tremendous gig, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I went back to the director of admissions and I said, "I'm not getting anywhere." He says, "Go see this one agent." So I went to this agent, I sat down and I said, "I can't sell soap. They're sending me up for commercials. I can't sell soap. But if you send me up for a soap opera, I'll get it." And he says, oh, you will?" It was really naive. He sent me up for World Turns and I got it. There was a woman by the name of Jean Arley who gave me the best compliment I ever had in my life. We were talking for a while, and she says, "Thank you very much for coming in." I said, "Don't I get to read?" She said, "Well, you're a nice young man, but you're not right for the part. This guy is troubled. He's very troubled." And I said, "But I thought I'd get a chance to read. Isn't that what acting is all about? You be somebody else." And she said, "You got 5 minutes." I went out, I came back in, I laid the script down, and she said, "You don't need that?" I said, "No." And I had it memorized, and we read, and she said, "I've been in this business for 40 years. This is the best compliment I ever got. 40 years, and I have never been as wrong. But I got to tell you, you're not right for the part, because the way you just read that, you're too troubled." so she said, "I will have you a part in a month." And in a month she did. They wrote a character in of his roommate in college, and I had him on drugs. Well, I was on there for only about a month. They sent me to prison, and Procter & Gamble moved me over to a new soap called Another World Somerset. I was a flat top guy when I came in, and I grew my hair down to to my shoulders, and Procter & Gamble was going nuts, but the character was very successful, so they didn't know what to do about it. After the allotted 2 years, the producer says, I want to talk with you because we have to sign a new contract. I walked into this fancy restaurant where he wanted to talk with me, and I see him sitting facing the door, and there was a woman with her back to me, and I could see that it was one of the women on the soap. And with that, I saw her go like this. And he sees me and he goes, so I go into this other room, he gets her up out of the chair, and he takes her to the door, and she's crying as she goes out into the day, and he says, come here, son. He says, he puts his arm around me, he says, come over and sit down, we got to talk about your new contract. I said, there's no reason to sit down. He said, why, what do you mean? I said, my contract's up next week, right? Right. I said, I'm leaving. What? Nobody did that. I said, yeah, I'm leaving. I don't want to work for you. And I walked out. And it was a very, very big deal. I set out for about a year. I was in Texas, and I called my agent and said, what's going on, anything? He said, yeah, a guy by the name of Joe Manetta called from the Secret Storm, and he wants to talk with us. I don't want to do another soap opera. I can't talk what I was doing. He says, just talk to Manetta. He's a nice guy. Talk with the guy on the phone, and he says, Gary, I need you for a year. And I said, I don't want to do another soap opera. I can't talk. He says, let me ask you something. Why don't you tell me who you want to be? I'm like, what? He said, who do you want to be? I said, he said, where are you now? I said, I'm in Texas. He said, how about a cowboy? I said, a cowboy on a soap opera? He said, sure, why not? They built barn sets. They brought cows in the middle of Manhattan. It was the greatest part I ever had. I was still, another bad guy. It was always the bad guys. And like for an example, sorry kids, but one of the things they had me doing, it was a story about my brother who was a priest, and what was he going to do? He was going to leave the priesthood. He had fallen in love with a woman. So he comes down to Texas to think about it, and he runs into his younger brother who doesn't want him there because it's taking attention away from me. And so he brings the lady down to introduce him to Mom, and the character has never seen anything like this one, and he's just crazy about her. They had me doing stuff like going over to her closet in the bedroom, laying the nightgown down on the bed, laying down on the nightgown and talking to the nightgown. It was, heavy stuff. So anyway, after 1 year, this Joe Manetta says, I need you for a year, and I'll tell you the date. The show's going off the air after 30 years. After 30 years, it went off on that very day. I was standing in the rap party after 30 years, and I'm standing next to a guy by the name of Alexander Scorby. Scorby was on the show. He was an older man, big white beard. He told stories to the little kids. Well, I became hip to the fact that Alexander Scorby was the best voiceover person in the world, and that was including Orson Welles. And so I'm standing next to Scorby at the rap party, and I said, so you got anything going for yourself, Alex? He says, yes, Gary. He says, yes, I do. I start tomorrow to record the New Testament. It wasn't kidding me. It was to record the Bible. Well, anyway, so I left there. I went to California. I started doing episodic shows, Murder, She Wrote, Starsky and Hutch, Diagnosis Murder, and stuff like that. And then I got called up to do a script called WKRP in Cincinnati. I screen tested with about 10 guys, and apparently, I love to tell this story, because apparently everybody in the room picked somebody else. And it was Mary Tyler Moore. Check this out. Mary Tyler Moore apparently stands up and says, Sandy's the guy. I think he's sexy, and if I do, so will millions of other women. I love to tell that story. So I would run into her every once in a while. She was really, really nice to me, and she would say, forget about it, you deserve the part. And I saw the tape of the guys that did that screen test, and I deserved it. I did. This is the last two things just before you get the hook out. I did all of these shows, and 3 national tours, a year and a half each time, 55 cities. It was really hard. 8 shows a week, you couldn't be sick. You could never be sick. Arsenic and Olays, Gene Stapleton, Marion Ross, and my buddy, Larry Storch. The second show was a thing called Breaking Legs. It was a great tour. Another one with Larry Storch. And then the third one was Best Little Warehouse in Texas, because I had to say it that way, because some stations would get offended if you used the other word. Best Little, well. So, 2 more things, and then I'm done. 2 more things. I got to tell the Larry Storch joke. Larry Storch, he would tell this story. He says, okay, I'll bring him home to Dayton. Welcome to WING Radio. We have with us Sven Svensson today. Sven, welcome to WING. Thank you very much. It's nice to, it's nice to be here. Oh, so you're from Sweden, Sven? That's right, I'm from wow, Sweden. You speak very, very good English. Where'd you learn how to speak? I learned how to speak woo, on the shortwave radio. Last one, what's it like to be on Broadway? Check it out. Pirate King, on Broadway, 3,500 seats, Minskoff Theater, Times Square, Pirate King, the lights come down, the spotlight hits the door to the left-hand side of the stage, and out comes the most beautiful lady in the world, blonde hair down to her waist, in a tuxedo. She strolls to the beginning of the orchestra bit, picks up the baton, turns to the audience, bows, leaps into the air, and a 40-piece orchestra starts going ba-da, 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 ba-da. A little flat has a little ship that goes like this, halfway across. A gun goes poof, and then a little puff of smoke, and goes off the waves, and the audience laughs. The flat goes up, the curtains open up, the stage is raked down towards it, and from behind the stage comes a full-scale pirate ship. You're on the front of the pirate ship with the greatest outfit in the world, sword drawn, screaming. You leap off of the ship, you run down towards the audience, you fall on your knees, slide to the edge of the stage, reach across, grab her by the hair, put a great big kiss on her, straighten up and go. And the show hadn't even started. That's what it's like to be an actor. I'm proud to be in Dayton, Ohio. I am proud to be from Dayton, Ohio, Kettering, with you nice people. I am proud to get this award, and it's the greatest thing in the world to be an actor. Thank you very much.